Hello, making another video about I call it the Autism Argument. There's a lot of interesting things on YouTube. I just on YouTube because it's free and I got a really cool camera, and so I'm on YouTube. And my mommy thinks that I should share stuff about myself, and maybe other people might relate to it. Or maybe other people might just cuss me out all the time. That's the whole thing about YouTube. It seems like I don't bother to scroll down to the comments. A lot of times it's just people cussing each other out, and it doesn't make any sense to me at all. I don't really relate to that. Anywho, I saw an argument over what is autism and who classifies as autistic and who fits in the spectrum and who doesn't fit in the spectrum, and there's like this really huge argument over who can be called autistic and who can't be called autistic. And then it suddenly dawned on me, like, right before I woke up this morning, I was laying in my bed and I was thinking for some reason. And I remembered some experience from when I was a little child, and I thought, oh, now I get it. I think autism is a replacement word. Because they used to call me by a different name, and I think it's an ugly word. It looks ugly, sounds ugly, and it feels ugly, and that's the word retarded. Which, actually, if I look at a lot of the autistic labeled people, actually are all the retarded people. Which is what retarded means. They could have made it sound nicer. It just basically means that you're not fully developed completely like everybody else. You lack development in certain areas, and that's what they used to call retarded. But I didn't really like when other kids said that, because they always said it mean, and then they'd beat you up while they were saying it. It didn't have much happy things there. And they tried to lock you up in institutions when you're classified as retarded. And along came the word autism. And it's a neat word. It looks neat. And it sounds neat. And mostly, above all, it seems to focus more on the uniqueness of retarded people. Because basically, when you look at the overall diagnosis, you're dealing with people that are retarded. But we have a neat word that we don't have to be known as retarded people anymore. And so I was just thinking, the whole argument, who's autistic and who's not autistic? Why is the spectrum so broad and all this other stuff? And maybe the spectrum is so broad because anyone who's retarded fits in under the new name autism, which is a much more polite thing to say. Hey, that person's autistic. Oh, okay. Then, the kid is like, hey, that's a retard. And they're like, haha, retard, haha, everybody laughs at him. So, I'm thinking that's how the whole thing works out. Because, well, I was grown up in the 1980s, and so I was always known as retarded. Let's call me retarded. Which actually was, funny enough, it was my motivation to conquer social things I didn't know how to understand. And I began to study human beings like a science project. And I thought they were kind of like machines. They move like machines. They had kind of like the same movements as machines and computers, and that made it more friendly for me. So I was like, I understand machines and I understand computers. This isn't such a big leap. Not as big as I thought it was. And so all I had to do is completely focus on nothing but their personalities. And that's what I did. I zoned everything else out and I focused 100% on their personalities. And then I figured out how to mimic people. And then I could pretend like I was a person. So, by the time I got sent to Job Corps, I already had everything in place. I said, all I gotta do is find the most popular people in the center and replicate everything that makes them popular. And I will be the most popular person. Ta-da! It worked! So then when they called me to be in the Navy, because this recruiter noticed I had really good skills with human dynamics, funny enough, and they put me in the Navy and I was working, and then some people were like, how did you get recommended for officers candidate training? Within only a few months, like 3 months I was on the ship, and we should recommend you for officers candidate training. And at the time I kind of giggled to myself as I said, I was like, no surprise to me, I studied their officers for 3 full months. It was 3 or 4 months. I studied all their officers that I came into contact with, and I replicated everything that made them an officer. I became a replication of a combination of all their officers. I'm like, yeah, it wasn't much of a surprise that I got recommended for officers candidate training. And the anthrax vaccine hit me. And some people want to say bad stuff about my government, too. I noticed that also a lot on YouTube. I mean, they're always constantly bad-mouthing the government, and I thought, you know, clinically, compared to the rest of the world, I'm a total idiot. But, being that I'm a total idiot, I'm actually able to see that when you have vaccines and companies, you're saying like the whole big government. Well, the government is not a giant organism, you know. It's a whole bunch of different people sitting at desks, filing reports. And they have to get this report from here and this report from here, and they're gathering all this information. They're trying to type all this stuff up and compile it and yada yada yada. You know, I'm actually amazed that the government can do what the government does, because it's practically impossible what the government does do. So, yeah, I mean, did they know the vaccines were bad and that they were tainted and that they were harmful? Most likely, no. Why would you spend all this money training people just to destroy them on purpose? I don't think they did that. They wouldn't. That just doesn't make any sense. That's a waste of everything. All the resources you could possibly think of for the military is a complete waste of, you know, the money, the time, the people. Without people, you can't run anything. They wouldn't get rid of their people on purpose. Added to that is that the government actually takes care of me. The government supplies all the diapers that I need. The government supplies the pads that I need because I forget to change the diapers that they supplied. The government supplies the income to my mommy, who pays all the bills and everything and makes sure I'm taken care of. The government also covers all the medical expenses. So, yeah, I mean, you could look at one particular case and be like, oh, the government is terrible, they're bad, they messed up in this one area. I'm like, do you know how much they have to keep track of stuff? Not everything's a conspiracy. I mean, gee, it's really hard to keep track of the whole United States of America, every single thing that's going on, and compile that all into usable data. That's hard. So, that's my whole take on stuff I've been seeing on YouTube.